welcome to Wrestling and Everything, Coast to Coast, with your hosts, Buddy Sotello and Evan Ginzburg. Evan Ginzburg, will you please introduce our guest for today?
Absolutely, and I am honored to have on Jesse Krakow, who is a multi-instrumentalist with a huge, long resume. Too long to read all of it because it would take half the show. But I am marking out. He has worked with Nona Hendryx, who I love with all my heart. Cool. She's in her 70s now, still a tremendous performer. Nona Hendryx from LaBelle, who, for those who don't know, Kate Pierson he's worked with from the B-52s, Gary Lucas from Captain Beefheart, and Jeff Buckley. Oh my God. John Zorn, Jello Biafra from the Dead Kennedys. This is quite the eclectic mix if you know your music. He's worked with the American Contemporary Music Ensemble, the Losers Lounge. He has recordings out on Sony, Atlantic, a zillion other labels. He was the host of Minor Music on WFMU, and in 2013 awarded a fellowship by the Brooklyn Philharmonic. He's gone from the Brooklyn Philharmonic to the Dead Kennedys.
To our show. Hey, how the mighty have fallen.
He was a professor at Bootsy Collins Funk University. Some of the best nights of my life was seeing P-Funk and Bootsy.
Oh, man.
And is a founder of J.A.M, Jesse Academy of Music, which specializes in music education, composition, production, and live performance for young musicians, which is a beautiful thing. We'll talk about that, of course. Currently, he's the musical director of Mandana, a 9-piece all-male Madonna tribute band in New York City. And for the wrestling fans, his latest album is the W.A.M, I guess you would say W.A.M album, a collection of songs from the world of pro wrestling. Welcome to the show, Jesse.
Thanks, guys. I'm glad to be here.
The show's over now. That took so long.
I'm sorry about that.
I'm kidding.
Yes, we'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for coming.
It's been a great show.
Yeah, right.
So, Jesse, why don't we start with Nona Hendryx?
Yeah.
What's it like working with the great Nona Hendryx?
It's awesome. She is she's super cool, and also, I mean, she looks amazing. I mean, she's in her 70s. She looks incredible. She is one of the greatest things that I did an album with her of Captain Beefheart music.
Wow.
Gary Lucas and I did an album of Captain Beefheart music, and she's such a pro. She came in, and in this era of musicians taking days and zillion takes to do her vocals, she did the whole album in like 4 hours. She's like, no, let her roll. Let's do it.
A real pro.
Just such a pro, and her sense of timing is like, in terms of tempo, it's like an alien. The best sense of time I've ever met. Her feel is just, she's so in the pocket, and it's really cool too because she'll work with anybody. As obviously, she has a great resume of people that she's worked with, but doesn't matter if it's crazy Captain Beefheart music or it's a young musician or weird funk or like Van Halen stuff. If it speaks to her, she's into it.
Nona Hendryx did a great song with George Clinton. The name eludes me, but tremendous cut. Yeah. You know? So I've seen her many times, and with all different combinations of musicians. And she's like 73 or 74, I believe. So okay. 74 is the new 44. The woman looks great.
It's yeah, and like, I mean, a lot of times, like we did a session and she had just come from a kickboxing lesson.
Wow.
Like she took it at like 7 a.m, and then she comes to rehearsal. It's like,
yeah,
she's awesome.
So Jesse, could you tell me how you got started in music and how you got all involved in wrestling and how that all led to your involvement?
Sure.
In wrestling?
It's kind of the same era. I was born in 1977, so I was really into MTV. Like in 1983, I was really into Def Leppard, and that was my favorite band. And what happened was I got a guitar when I was 6 because I was really sick, and I had to have a serious operation on my sinuses, basically. And my mom said to me, "If you had this surgery and you're a big boy, I'll get you anything you want." And I said, "I want the Def Leppard guitar." which is this guitar called an Explorer, which is a very cool shape, looks like a star. So I like that. And I just got really, really into music and anything MTV, Van Halen, Prince, all that stuff. And around 1984, I have an older brother, and one day he came home from a friend's house, and he said, "I just watched wrestling. What's wrestling?" And he had seen some WWF stuff, early Hulk Hogan championship stuff, before the war to settle the score and all that kind of stuff. And I just started watching it because he watched it, and I fell in love with the Junkyard Dog. He was my guy, because he danced and he wore red, my favorite color, and this is when he had Another One Bites the Dust, so free rather than cake. So I just thought JYD was the coolest guy. And my dad would take us to the Los Angeles Sports Arena to see the shows. This was before they could run the Forum, so we would go to the shows to see the guys there. And my dad loved Roddy Piper and so much, and I love JYD, and my brother loved Ricky Steamboat. And we were just, from 1984, we were just hooked. And so obviously the rock and wrestling thing was just made for me. MTV, rock and roll wrestling, superheroes. That was my shit.
I was at Madison Square Garden the night that Piper clocked Lou Albano.
Yeah.
I was there. It was
fun. Oh, man.
Yeah.
So how did then you integrate your love of music into wrestling? How did that, you personally, get it to being connected?
Well, it took a while. It was only about a couple of years ago where I really got back into wrestling for the third time, because I took, you know how wrestling fans are. We take years off. We retired for a couple of years. So when I came back into it, I don't know if you guys have heard the album called Hulk Rules. You know it? It's Hulk Hogan put out an album in 1995, and it's a rap. He did that album with J.J. Maguire. Yeah. So my brother and I were always obsessed with that record because we thought it was not bad. We thought it was really weird. Have you heard the album?
Not really, no.
I recommend you do.
I like weird. I like Captain Beefheart.
Well, it's weird in the sense that it's Hulk Hogan. Well, some songs he doesn't even sing on. Some songs he just has somebody else sing on it. Linda, his wife at the time, sang on it. And it's songs about how awesome he is and how special he is. But he's rapping, and then he's like crooning ballads. And my brother and I were just like, what the hell what is this? So 3 years ago, when I got back into wrestling, I was like, you know what? I'm going to re-record Hulk Rules, because I want to see if I can challenge myself to see if these aren't great songs, but can I find some other songs within these songs? The whole album is rap and rock and roll. So my idea was to say, maybe take this song that sounds like real American and let's make it a reggae song, or let's take a rap song, let's make it a hardcore song. Jimmy Hart has a song on it. It's like a Jimmy Buffett kind of a song, and I made that like a doo-wop song. So I just wanted to rearrange the music. And then last year, I did a show at a place called Sid Gold's Request Room. I don't know if you know where that is, in New York City. And I called it The Music of Wrestling. And I just wanted to do some acoustic versions of some of my favorite wrestling songs. And everybody loved it. So I was like, you know what, let me just do this album and of wrestling songs. And there's a lot of mashups where, I'm happy to play something for you later, but taking a song by Adrian Street and mixing it with a song by Jeff Jarrett, mixing those together. And then when I came up with the name W.A.M Album, W.A.M stands for Wrestling and Music, because I had this fantasy of forming a wrestling promotion that has no wrestling, that just has promos and promos and interviews and music and all the gaga, because that's the stuff that originally got me, was, you know, just Junkyard Dog and Roddy Piper and you know, just Hulk's you know, rah, those moments. So that's what became the W.A.M album, you know, an album about wrestling, but there's no actual wrestling.
That's a really awesome idea, actually. It's not, you know, the first I've heard of it, you know, and we don't have anything like that going on the West Coast, even though on the West Coast, obviously, there's a big music scene out here as well, you know. I don't know if you've had a chance to work ever in California at all, or if
I moved from LA when I was 18, so when I've been back there, it's only to play shows or, you know, see my family at the time. I would love to be able to do this promotion. When I priced it out, I was like, this is a little expensive. So, you know, because I wanted to do it pretty well, and I wanted people to get paid, you know. But right now, with what's going on in the world, it's not going to be anytime soon.
I know, it's really sad that there's a lot of plans. In fact, what are your thoughts about, you know, what you do is so centered on live performance?
Yeah.
You know? So what's your thoughts on where live performances are going to go these days?
God, it's too depressing to think about, man. I got to be honest. Let's hope that maybe in a year from now we can really start thinking actively about shows. But people are saying that the next year could be a wash. You know, I've been invited to a bunch of shows where it's, you know, like invited guest only, and people will be sitting 6 feet away from each other and all this kind of stuff. It just doesn't excite me at all, and it's really dark to think about. All I can hope is that people will buy music online. It seems like people are a little bit more supportive of artists. I don't know. When's the last time you guys were at shows?
It's been a very long time for me.
Yeah.
I got
two kids.
Garden. I was at the Garden for Squeeze and Hall & Oates in February.
Wow.
Before everything broke. I was at a boxing show at the Barclays maybe a week before everything hit. You know, 8,000, 9,000 people. So, you know, I guess I'm lucky I was okay.
How was Squeeze?
Squeeze is great. They've always been great. And I'm more an R&B, jazz, and blues guy, but Squeeze is a fabulous band.
Totally.
And I was surprised how good Hall & Oates are, because I was never a huge fan. I was really there to see Squeeze, but they really did an R&B show. You know, they're doing all kinds of Philly soul and I was impressed.
Remember when they did that album of I don't know if they did a whole album, but they played with the Temptations back in the 80s with it was
Nona Hendryx.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, so you're talking about live music. What I'm seeing a lot now are live performances on Zoom. Bobby Rush, for example, he's one of my heroes, 86-year-old blues player. And, you know, they go on Zoom and they do a couple of numbers solo, and there's a cyber tip jar or whatnot. Yeah. It's not the same as being at a show with a full band and hundreds or thousands of people. Yeah. It's just not the same, but it is what it is. I mean, musician. Just a few minutes before this show started, I was watching Bilal, great R&B singer, songwriter. Yeah. He's on live, and this is a world-class performer, but there were 35 people watching, so it's not the same as being. I saw him in Central Park with thousands of people at Summer Stage. Right. It's not the same experience. Yeah,
I guess it's hard for me to accept it right now. I mean, there are some people that are doing shows for nobody in terms of like Bowery Electric. I don't know if you know that place in Lower East Side.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, they're doing shows there, and they're just streaming them live, but they're doing a whole band on stage, 3 cameras, full on, looking great, and then they're streaming that as opposed to just a person playing guitar. But it's still not the same.
My bigger worry is that a lot of these places are going to go under. Yeah. If the government doesn't support this, like they're trying to support other small businesses, these clubs are not going to survive. I mean, a lot of clubs moved from Manhattan to Brooklyn or whatever, just because of the obscene rents before all of this. It wasn't easy. BB King's 42nd Street, the center of the world, went out of business, and they announced publicly it was because of the obscene rents. So,
and then the factory, places like that.
And
sure.
the Bay Area is no different. The San Francisco Bay Area has the same kind of problem, where major clubs and bars are now going out of business, and there's no live music that's been going on for a long time out here.
How about Amoeba? Is Amoeba Music still doing okay, or is another one on Sunset in LA is closed?
Yeah, no, it's not doing well here either. It's people are trying to perform outside, and restaurants are trying to do outdoor stuff, but especially here in Northern California, we're going through our biggest surge, like the way that you guys in New York were going through it, 3-4 months ago. We're going through our surge right now, and it's people are really too scared to go out and do anything. Kind of like the way you guys were.
In my neighborhood in Queens, 13 different bars and restaurants went under so far. 13, the unlucky number. Okay? Seriously, that's a lot of small businesses to go under in 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
So the government really has to, jump in and help everybody, not just monster corporations.
But Jesse, you seem to be like the guy that is motivated by more than like the money that you make by it. There's something that it seems like you are inspired by the idea of like being able to incorporate the things that interest you into your music, and being able to then, channel it, into the public. And so it seems to me like you're not giving up on your dreams at all. Whereas,
no, I mean, I'm not. I teach as well, I do, and I've been doing Zoom lessons, and I also, I've been teaching, and I can also do sessions from now. Luckily, my wife has a really great job. She works at FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology, doing cybersecurity and training.
Nice.
And I also have 2 kids. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, so I'm also Mr. Mom. So between that and teaching and sessions, I can still make my own music,
teaching and having a 7-year-old that you've got to also be a parent, you got to be a homeschooler too.
Oh man,
as well. That now I really don't envy you, Evan. He's got an even tougher job than you or I have.
How old are your
Evan's? Well, Evan's stuck on the teaching side, and I'm stuck on the parent side.
Yeah.
So, but you've got a little bit of both on both sides of you. So.
But also, Matt, I would say for me, I've been a professional musician for a while now, but even before I was being paid to do this, I was always doing projects, and I was losing money. I would go on tour and lose money, and it was about being in a band and playing your own music and getting your ideas across, and paying for my own records. I do that all the time. Even when I worked with Alternative Tentacles, it was still a very DIY experience, which is why Jello and I got along. Because he's like, yeah, you're just going to fucking do it. So that's what sort of motivates me. Luckily, I'm in a house in New Jersey who just got power back, so we're good.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons we bought the house is because
we can almost see you. Almost.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. We have a basement and I have a whole studio. So it's also been a great release, especially as a dad, when I need, time to get away. I just go down to my studio and here I am. And I have a VC, I have a V8, I have all my old raws and nitros and whatnot taped here on VHS, so I can just entertain myself. And,
I have an important question. In times like these, very hard times, we have the pandemic, we have millions of unemployed people, businesses going under, etc., so on. Is it a creative period? Because I know many artists, write out of pain. I'm finishing a book. I never would have got this book done otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
or this podcast.
Right.
This podcast started because we were bored out of our minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your take on that?
I think it's a good point. I think we're trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and certainly the projects that we've always wanted to focus on. I mean, writing a book to me, I can't, or like editing a movie, like that's a amount of work that I can't conceive of, because it just, I mean, especially writing a book where one person is accountable for every single word, and just the detail and the time, and the time to really enjoy it and make it beautiful. Well, now we have that time, so I guess these kind of bucket list ideas.
I feel what you just said about writing, I feel that way about music. I find it amazing. My brother's a really great musician. He's a savant at it. But I have always looked at it from the outside in,
right,
to like be amazed that you can listen to notes, put them together, and make them sound
right,
like a song that you want it to be, and put lyrics to it and make it into something people would want to listen to.
I guess it's, we all have our own art forms, right? I mean, I look at wrestling now. I look at, some of these wrestlers are artists, especially with some of the current stuff, which I kind of wanted to talk to both of you about the current project too. I think, Evan, we're all, like, for example, I have a blonde mohawk. This is not my normal haircut. I'm just fucking bored.
Yeah.
Just like, why not? I got no gigs coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Shit like that. You might as well take a chance. Which is what
and I wanted to ask, while it was still kind of topical, and this is a tough question, so you can take it how you'd like to take it. Why? Why would you go through all this stuff? Why would you go through all? And I want to know it with everyone that we talk to. Why be involved in this way? And as you said, you lose money, and you sometimes get stiffed on gigs, and people you show up, you go to all this trouble, and two people show up to the audience, and why do you do it?
I mean, I can't see doing anything differently. I mean, I'm not going to get dark and say it's a sickness or it's an addiction. Maybe it is an addiction, but it's fun. It's having an idea for something, having a new idea is great. And then someone else gets excited about that idea. Then you're sharing ideas. Oh, fuck, let's try this. And then you get to the show and no one's there. Well, that part sucks. And that part is certainly soul destroying, but your idea is still great, and your songs are great, and your concept is great. So I never gave up on that. And my God, I played shows with 2 people or 0 people, or fucking driving 200 miles to make $50 split between 5 guys, after gas, which means it pays your gas and you're sleeping on floors. But if you love it, I mean, look at all these wrestlers. I mean, for some of these indie guys, I mean, they bust their balls doing stuff, sleeping on floors and driving overnight to wrestle and put their body. I mean, I'm playing with my fingers. I'm playing steel strings on wood. These guys are doing moonsaults and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's like that's the real. Those guys are my heroes, man.
Buddy, the answer to the question is people do it because they need to do it. They need to do it. We spent 7 years making The Wrestler. We spent 6 years making 350 Days. And you don't know if you're going to make a dime. I've had movies die on the vine that never got distribution, never, that just collapsed. I mean, you don't know, but you're doing it because you have a passion for it. I'm writing this book, whether it sells 1 million copies, 1,000 copies, 100 copies, or 10 copies, I need to do it. It's cathartic. Yeah. It's cathartic. I mean, whatever comes of it, comes of it. But,
what's the book, Evan?
Basically, it's a 50 or so short story collection about the incredible people I've met, much like you have. And a lot of them are gone now. Johnny Valiant, Nikolai Volkov, Killer Kowalski, etc., so on. And, just what it was like, being with these guys in various capacities, and being on the road. waking up in a room with Nikolai Volkov, and he has these, hand-carved blocks from the old country, and he's doing hundreds of push-ups, 6 a.m, and he goes, Evan, let's arm wrestle. And I'm like, okay, Nikolai. And I couldn't move him 1 inch. I'm 6'2", 220. I'm not a 98-pound weakling. I couldn't move this guy 1 inch, So, just some amazing experiences. And the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. I mean, wrestling, I have some stories in here. Guys did not end up well. They did not end up well. Promoters that ended up in welfare hotels, etc. So on. I mean, and it's not even a wrestling book. Half the book is wrestling, half isn't. It's basically, my life in short stories, but a lot of wrestling.
Well, it's also interesting because I know a lot of times you've said how, in the brief times we've talked, that you have a love-hate relationship.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've seen promoters burn through their life savings. I've seen guys who sold out Madison Square Garden many times end up pushing a broom. I've seen wrestlers lose houses.
And it's the Icarus syndrome, which I find fascinating. The story of Icarus, who flew too close to the sun and melted all his feathers and fell.
Yeah.
To me, it's to watch that story repeat itself over and over again, juxtaposed with people like yourself, who are able to find that balance and keep it that way and survive the roller coaster of having wrestling involved in their lives and it not kill them. To me, the fascination between what kills guys in wrestling and what allows them to thrive and survive, and the difference between the two, is something that I will always be fascinated with. And so, I look at stories like yourself as like, how does he change the obsession so it doesn't burn him up and doesn't consume him like the folks that Evan is talking about?
Yeah.
What do you think makes the difference for you in that way?
Well, for me now, it's first of all, I'm nowhere near as close as Evan is to the business. No, I don't have Cody doing push-ups in my bedroom. You know what I mean?
I don't either. That's okay.
But, I think within the idea of hating something, I love wrestling. Besides my family and music, it's what gets me going the most. I have to remember that this is not important. This is fun stuff. This is good shit, and that's what allows me to step back. It's like my buddies and I. We used to have the most brutal fucking arguments about bands in the van. Oh, King Crimson is so much better than Yes. Like these screaming idiot arguments, which is sort of what we're doing on Twitter with wrestling when we're arguing about wrestling. So even though actually, if you were to ask my wife, she would say, "Oh yeah, Jesse's obsessed with wrestling," because I listen to all the podcasts and I try to watch every show. I try to watch all the AEW and WWE and NXT and New Japan when I can, but I need to appreciate it from the idea of just a fan. I can't get any deeper. For you, Evan, you being a fan, that made the work that you did within it so much better.
Yeah.
I'm sure your love of wrestling The Wrestler was an incredible fucking film, by the way.
Thank you.
And your work to make it authentic, I'm sure that was really taxing for you.
I took Aronofsky and the screenwriter and the executive producer to indie shows basically every weekend for 6 months.
Wow.
They wanted it to be real, and it was. I have a tough question for you. This just popped into my head, Jesse. Let's say at Madison Square Garden, New Japan has your dream card, but at the theater at Madison Square Garden, there's P-Funk and Bootsy and Fishbone and Nona Hendryx, etc. So on. Where do you go? The shows at the same time.
You said Fishbone. That's the best band ever live. So I have.
Fishbone's awesome.
I've seen them live too.
I mean, live. It's amazing, right? It's transfixing.
I saw Fishbone at the Apollo. So which
I
show
was
would
young
you go
enough to actually do a mosh pit when I saw Fishbone at the Warfield.
Fishbone is just it's like
it's funny. We have that all in common. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So New Japan at the Garden or that concert at the theater the same night. Which do you choose?
I'm doing the concert.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think I would too, though.
Yeah.
Jesse, you'll appreciate this. One night at the Garden, I saw Prince with Larry Graham and Shaka Khan.
Oh my God!
And they were all jamming together.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. That's better than New Japan, and I love.
Yeah, no, I'll always take that. But I would say, and I'm curious for your guys' take on it too, because it's strange. Because, in many ways, I'm a throwback to the wrestling that I loved as a kid. And I guess it goes back to being a kid. And then from there, I can go back to people a little bit older than me. For example, Nick Bockwinkel was in the AWA when I was, when I was getting into wrestling. And I didn't get it then. Now I'm like, this is the best. I'm wearing my humanoid shirt I got from Frozen.
There you go.
But I also can appreciate the fact that some of the stuff now, which I don't like. Some of the stuff now I think is transfixing, is amazing. And even at 43 years old, I can be like, you know what, some of this new shit is over my head, and maybe I'm the problem. You know what I mean?
No, I think a lot of it is just crap. And then you see Okada, who's an artist. You use the word artist.
Yeah.
And that's wrestling the way it should be. Yeah. Some of the WWE stuff is an insult to your intelligence.
Right.
The ratings are showing it. That's the other thing is it's not just you, Jesse. It's a lot of other folks that are turned off by it. And that's why they're having record low ratings.
Yeah, so interesting about that because obviously, and if you compare it to what was going on with Raw and Nitro 20 years ago, there's going to be a significant dip. But since I'm not a TV ratings guy, I don't know how ratings are necessarily quantified, but it seems like most people watch wrestling after the fact, like the next day. And how are those numbers? Well, not a lot of people are watching 3-hour Raws. I'm not watching a 3-hour Raw. I can't do it. But I will watch the next day for the highlights.
Right.
But
a lot of people do that.
Yeah. But I don't know if that number is recognized.
I'm not sure. In the old days, it was like 2,000 Nielsen TVs. I don't. It's probably much more complex.
That in itself, as you pointed out right there, is one thing that dilutes wrestling much more than it did back in the day. With myself, I'm 10 years older than you, and Evans, doesn't like to brag about, going to the.
I'm 103.
Carl Gotch matches. But we kind of are three sort of generations of wrestling in that way. When wrestling came out in my time, it was hard to find. You didn't have so much of it on TV. So it became kind of a shared experience that you were able to watch like Saturday night's main event, for example. And then you'd go and talk about it with all your friends because it was a shared experience. Now that people record whatever and watch it whenever they do, it dilutes the experience because maybe someone else talked about it online, before you had a chance to watch it. And you're like, well, I'm not going to watch that match because, it got 1 star from Evan,
And I don't like the spoilers. I hate, so-and-so won the belt last night. I'm like, why am I watching this?
Yes.
Well, also the fact that, and I know Evan, you agreed with me on this too, is that, wrestling fans, I find they're either my best friends or they hate me. There's no, they can be really intolerable. Like there is some WWE stuff that I love, and that's cool. But the fact that it's there's also that judgmental stuff of, for example, I love MJF in wrestling. He's
great,
my fucking guy.
Yeah.
He is Roddy Piper. He's Flair. He's Tully Blanchard. He's Bob. He's all those guys.
He's from Long Island. He's a local boy.
Yeah,
that's tremendous.
And he's a Jew like us. It's like
yeah. But he went to high school with some of my friends' nephews. Yeah.
You're really awesome. But a lot of people talk about AEW and they'll talk about but it's not the Young Bucks or this. You're like, you should like this stuff. It's like, why can't I fucking like what I like within wrestling? And I think wrestling fans are so judgmental about that. Whether it's about Vince or Dixie Carter, when she was at TNA, all this kind of stuff. I think wrestling fans can be, in a way, worse than snobby musicians.
Oh, yeah.
That's saying a lot, man.
Why is it? Why? Why do you think that is?
Maybe because now with Twitter and stuff, everybody can be a critic. I don't know. I think, well, for example, for you, Evan, I know you have a lot of feelings about Vince McMahon, and I can understand. And a lot of them, I would imagine, some of them are about the product, but also the fact that you work with men who work for him who had a bad ending.
Yeah.
Right.
I see a billionaire who did not take care of, guys who sacrificed their bodies for him. A lot of these guys ended up in wheelchairs, ended up with nothing. And no, they did not all piss it away on wine, women, and song. That's a myth. A lot of the guys back in the day never broke 100,000. They were on the road. They were sending money home to their families. They were not paid what they would deserve. And to not have 401ks, pensions, health benefits, this is a billionaire. I think it's reprehensible. So I'll state this publicly, and I'll get, Vince is my hero, WWE is my religion. These are words they actually use.
Yeah.
So I'm the bad guy. The bad guy. And some of the admins, wonderful people, and some of them are obsessive, guys who need to adjust the meds. It's no, really.
No, you're right. And those are the people that you're talking about, buddy, is the people that are just tunnel vision on everything, about it. But maybe these are the keyboard warriors, or this is their life, this is their outlet, and especially now with this pandemic, maybe this is the only way that people can listen to them is by screaming through their computers.
But the thing is, these are all human beings with who are complex. I love George Clinton, but there's certain things business-wise, I'm not crazy about.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just saying you have to see both sides of it. I think the wrestling people see the world like it's wrestling. It's good or it's bad, but it's more complex than that. Yeah.
Well, I liked how you had when you had your guest on last week. You were talking about Sammy Guevara and all the stuff that's what he went through with Sasha Banks and stuff like that. Obviously, AEW did the right thing in taking him off TV, but it's more like then you had people saying, "Oh no, they shouldn't have suspended him. He's the best." Well, he's not being suspended because he's not good.
Yeah.
Like that's you're losing they sort of took out the narrative about that. Oh, they should have taken out some other guys. Like no, you're missing the message of why we're having this dialogue. I don't know.
As an educator, principals have a good list and a bad list, and the wrestling fans are the same way. If the guy's on the good list, he could do no wrong. If the guy's on the bad list, he can do no right.
That's right.
So,
But I think we all, I don't know, maybe the three of us, we all have our own individual bad list and good lists.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, buddy, how's the time going? Because we want to get Jesse to play a little.
Oh, yeah. No, we're doing really well. We got about another, well, it's completely up to you, Jesse, on what your schedule is, but we're doing fine. We've got, I'd love to actually hear some of your music. Sure. If you've got, especially any original compositions, or I want to hear some of the mashup stuff that you've done.
Okay. How is his sound before he starts?
There's a little bit of a delay. There was a little bit of a delay a second ago, but it seems to have, maybe it was, are you having a storm in your area or anything like that?
Am I? No.
No, okay.
I hope not.
Our connection's good. My connection's fine over to you, but it was getting a little bit of a delay a second ago. But why don't you regale us with a little bit?
Sound good? Hello?
Oh, yeah, that sounds fine.
All right, good. I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah.
All right. This was the impetus for me doing my album, the W.A.M album. I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I got the looks that drive the women wild. I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spine. I'm just a sexy boy, sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy, boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy, boy toy. I make him hot, I make him shiver. Then knees get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like they're on cloud nine. And I'm just a sexy boy, sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy, boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy, boy toy. We're all American boys, all American boys. Don't go mess with the sexy boy, sexy boy, sexy boy. Don't go mess with the sexy boy, don't mess with the sexy boy. When I was a little bitty boy, baby, I cut my teeth on a freckle tree. Papa filled my bottle with the moonshine steel. My first meal was the best she killed, best she killed, best she killed. My first meal was the best she killed. Well, I grew by the time I was 10. I was 6'4" and I'm not a marked man. I love my woman and I love my pay. I hate the fool that'll get in my way. Get in my way, get in my way. I hate the fool that'll get in the way of a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy, boy toy.
Yeah.
Abbreviated version.
There you go.
That was great. That was really hilarious.
So there's a lot of stuff like that.
That's definitely a tribute to like 4 songs in one there. It was pretty impressive.
Well, yeah, and man, the wrestling album as a kid, man, that I got it the day it came out.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure John McGuire will see this show and I'll get his feedback. That'll be interesting.
There was just an article in The Athletic on the Hulk Rules album, and JJ, myself, and somebody from the record label was interviewed for it, and I hope what I said didn't come off as offensive or anything in the article. So, because I haven't had a chance to talk to JJ, and I would love to.
I'll try to connect you guys.
Yeah, no, because I'm a big fan.
Or one of these days, maybe we'll have to do some kind of a wrestle concert online where like you and JP Zarka and JJ all get together and, you know, Yes, exactly. You guys can all get together and make some kind of an online jam session for you guys.
Man.
But, you know, really appreciate that. You know, that's really great that you could get your creativity together in a song like that and perform it.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. It's I don't know. That's always been my thing. And maybe as a teacher and as a person who does a lot of cover music, because that's, you know, as a musician right now, that's a good way to make money, is do covers and tributes. So that was sort of my way of finding songs within songs, you know, but then again, you know, if you look at, like, you know, the history of music and wrestling is crazy too. I mean, like Freddie Blassie's stuff is awesome. Jerry Lawley made a record, you know, the Pile Driver record from the WWF. There are some moments on the record that are so damn bizarre. Like, it's sort of just finding it, like, for example, avant-garde music. I love avant-garde music. I love free jazz.
Yeah, Sun Ra, Art Ensemble.
Cornet, yeah, all that. Albert Eiler, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think once one looks into a song or an art form, they can find how it relates to other art forms.
Sun Ra did a Disney album.
No shit.
Oh yeah, he did Disney covers. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But
You You want to hear something funny? My mom was a jazz buff, and she saw Bird and Coltrane. She saw everybody, but she couldn't wrap her head around like the avant-garde stuff.
Yeah.
Like I would put on Sun Ra for her, and like she didn't get it. But then she heard Sun Ra doing Disney, and she's like, "Yeah, I get that," you know. So sometimes you kind of have to meet in the middle.
That's kind of how I feel. I agree, and you know, vis-a-vis how it relates to wrestling, this whole new thing of no audience, you know, obviously a lot of it has suffered and is made for not great TV, but I think also when it has worked, I think it's been fucking great. And I know, Evan, you have feelings about this, but the stuff that is pre-taped, like the Stadium Stampede or the Firefly Funhouse or the Boneyard match, that to me was like, talk about making chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Yeah.
That to me just, but it worked in the sense of they didn't give a shit. They went so far over the line that it put me in a sense of like, oh right, I need to think about this in a different way, and it captivated me.
Right.
It captivated me because Money in the Bank sucked.
Yeah.
And I can see the difference. You know what I mean? But that's just me. And when I looked at those, Firefly Funhouse, for example, being the one that really connected with me, it was like, that's right. When I first got into wrestling, it had nothing to do with wrestling. I just love these characters so much. I would have listened to Junkyard Dog do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I think with this pandemic, you're going to find more and more these hybrids. For example, there's a group called Take Me to the River, and they have these old school R&B and blues acts.
yeah.
And they come on Zoom like once a week, and it's a concert, but it's also education and history, where they're interviewing the musician. He's talking about going through Jim Crow and all the hardships and everything. But then it's also a musical performance. So you're getting these multi-level, you know, shows that kind of work in their own. Like, again, I'd rather see Bobby Rush with a full band at a beautiful club.
Right.
But considering you can't, it's still an enjoyable experience.
They reinvent how you can have and I think that can be a great thing. I mean, for example, what you're doing right now, that's cool. You know, because this way you can really get the interaction of what everybody's thinking about this. You know, it's I don't know. I know that they're talking about doing SummerSlam in Atlantic City and stuff like that. That just seems like lunacy to actually be thinking about doing live shows.
Well, New Japan, it's interesting. I have New Japan World. They have somebody seated, and on the right and the left, the seats are empty.
Okay.
They're all masked, and they're told not to yell. So it's a weird experience, but they do have a crowd.
Japanese are used to, you know, following directions. And,
and
you know, obeying.
I've toured Japan, and I know the audiences are very, there can definitely
respectful. Yeah,
respectful and enthusiastic. When everybody's enthusiastic, it's like freaking roar, and then when it's quiet, it's quiet. It's interesting though. I'd wonder about the financials of that.
I think the tickets are about $99 each American, so maybe they raise the price a little to compensate for the empty seats, because they're just regular house shows. So that's a little expensive. Yeah. I don't know.
I was going to see AEW on March 18th at New Jersey, and my tickets were $115.
Wow.
But, well, I mean, it's expensive, and they were good seats, but I was willing to see it because I was really stoked to see that show. I mean, the AEW pay-per-view was $50. You know?
I love AEW.
When it's great, I really am all in. When it's not, I get really frustrated. But then I have to be like, this is wrestling. Just don't fucking give it like it's.
Yeah.
I think they're doing much better with the smaller audience that they have.
1,000%.
Yeah, the performers there are used to, haven't been so far removed from working indie shows. You know, they've done them maybe not too long ago in their past, so they know how to work a small audience. Whereas a lot of the WWE performers, they haven't worked in front of a small audience in so long. They get real they get really like deer in the headlights, you know, because they just don't get how to work a small room anymore.
Which is why, I think Adam Page, I think he's really top notch, man. I think that guy's
excellent.
Yeah, and didn't he study with Johnny Valiant? Wasn't he?
That I'm not aware of. I don't know.
But to me, MJF and Britt Baker, when it comes to that kind of style, they really transcend that kind of stuff because they're used to that interaction of like, you right there, you're going to hate me.
Yeah.
Not as a WWE, some of the stuff, it's like, you're like King Corbin, you're all going to hate me. It doesn't connect with me as much.
The old school fans don't appreciate the Young Bucks. I think they're great. You know, they're like, oh, they're spot monkeys and it's super kick after super kick. I think the Young Bucks are tremendous.
They're tremendous. Oh yeah, absolutely. And
Phoenix and Pentagon, I think, are tremendous.
Phoenix is incredible. The last, Matt Jackson on Dynamite this week, he had some really impressive shit. Phoenix is incredible.
Oh yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah.
Well, and don't you think that in some ways, like the WWE is handicapped by having NXT like have to be like the developmental, and a lot of guys get stuck in NXT that really should be moved to the bigger shows, but the bigger shows already have too many people on it already, so they don't have room for them, so they get stuck in NXT.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You look at someone like Rhea Ripley, and she's a star, and I can see her staying at NXT, and it's like, I think she doesn't need to be there, or Adam Cole. But in some ways, I think they want to be there. I think the NXT people actually appreciate being in the smaller vibe because they think the wrestling's better and the show is better.
Yeah, they're getting paid nothing though. You know, that's the you know that it's basically, you know, the galley workers for the WWE, you know, and so the money is bigger when they go to the bigger shows, but those shows are already just packed.
Well, right, but also, certainly with SmackDown, the advertising that Fox is laying out for SmackDown, certainly. I mean, we would hope that, you know, again, I think once we can have live shows again, let's hope that will happen eventually. A lot of people that WWE furloughed and fired hopefully would come back, you know, because it sucks that those people are out of a job. And it's also confounding, for me, it was more, maybe it's just the fan in me. I'm like, why would you keep this person and these guys and not Gallows and Anderson? And why would you keep Heavy Machinery?
Yeah.
Gallows and Anderson are fucking great, you know.
Oh yeah, New Japan.
Ryder, let Zack Ryder go? You know, but hopefully that stuff will come back. I think I almost feel that AEW actually has could be doing more to have shorter segments and feature their talent more, because their team, their roster is really impressive, and I think that there's some. I think that Cody is trying to be so selfless and putting over new talent, which is admirable. You know, in terms of putting over these new people for like, you know, going for his championship, like he had Sonny Kiss, and now he had Eddie Kingston and Warhorse. It's like, well, that's cool, but you also have other people like Brian Cage and stuff like that who we'd love to see every week. I mean, the girls can't even be on. They're having the tag team competition. Wasn't even aired. Like, that kind of sucks. But maybe
they skip a commercial. They don't skip a commercial. They don't skip a commercial break, though. You know, God forsakes. You know, don't miss, you know, one of those things. But absolutely, you know, they can short us on the wrestling, you know, from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that. I remember reading somewhere that Triple H sort of wanted NXT to be run as a territory in a way, because I know because Triple H loved Crockett, and I get that, but you can also tell while that's going on that these guys are also trying to go into a bigger, broader style, and that sort of becomes the conundrum with me, because I think a lot of NXT is tremendous. You know.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Well, I hate to say this because I really enjoyed this conversation so much, but we're getting close to the end of the hour.
Okay.
I want another song.
Okay.
I want another song before you sign out.
Sure.
So maybe something original that you'd like to, if you.
I can give you a J.J. McGuire song, but I can give you an original. Sure.
I just don't want to put the pressure on you, but whatever you.
Whatever you want to do.
I want to give you a Hulk Hogan song if you don't mind.
Sure.
We don't mind.
This song was written about. I don't know if you heard the story. It's about. There was a boy. As it turns out, the story has been proven to be maybe not true, but there was a boy who was a big Hulk Hogan fan in the early '90s, and he had tickets to see Hulk Hogan wrestle at Wembley Stadium, and Hulk Hogan had left him tickets, and him and his family tickets to come see him wrestle. But unfortunately, when that day came, and Hulk was in the ring, he looked over in the seats. The boy was not there because the boy had died.
Wow.
Yeah. The song is not about the boy. The song is about Hulk Hogan. But, all right, here we go. I read it in the papers. I saw it on TV. I guess there'll be one empty seat when I wrestle at Wembley. I used to tear my shirt, but now you've torn my heart. I knew that you were a Hulkamaniac right from the very start. You were my friend. I'll see you again. When the Hulkster comes to heaven, we'll tag up again. The world just lost another Hulkamaniac. I wish Hulk's love would bring you back again. When I climb back in the ring, I know we'll win this fight. And I wish you were here at ringside to cheer me on tonight. The spotlight now goes dim, and it's not on me. The prayers we said together, they're still a guarantee. You were my friend. I'll see you again. When the Hulkster comes to heaven, sorry, we'll tag up again. The world just lost another Hulkamaniac. I wish Hulk's love would bring you back again. Back again with Hulk.
Yeah.
That was great. That was great. Boy, I mean, one of these days, maybe you can record a theme song for our show.
Hey, man.
My gosh.
I got nothing else to do, man.
That you're phenomenal. That was really great. Really appreciated that. How can fans follow what they want to follow about you? And if you have anything that's coming up, now's a good time to promote
Plug anything you like.
Oh, sure. Okay, so if you go to Jesse Krakow, JESSE, KRAKOW.bandcamp.com, I have almost all my records there. I have the Hulk Rules album. I have the W.A.M album. Tons of different stuff. I also play with this woman who's in a band called the Shaggs. I don't know if you know the Shaggs. .Wigan Band. You can go to .wiganband.com. And yeah, that's the main stuff. But thank you guys. It's been really cool talking with you, man. I really.
Thank you.
Oh, we'd
Thank
love
you.
to have you on again as a guest in the future. This was really entertaining and
We got the Skype
really
going. So.
yeah, no, you're really talented, and we didn't even scratch the surface of all your great experiences with so many wonderful musical stars. So we'll have a chance to grill you a little bit more on those things too. But I really appreciated getting into some of your thought processes on why you do what you do. Those are some great answers.
Well, thanks, man. Really good talking to you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thank you, guys.
So
Great.
yes, we'll see y'all again next week, folks. Thank
you
you
guys.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.